This morning you probably didn't cry. But at some point this week, maybe over a movie, a memory, or nothing you could even explain, you did. And you never questioned it. You've never once stopped to ask why water comes out of your eyes when you feel something big. It just feels like the way things are. But here's what almost nobody tells you. No doctor prescribed this. No ancient wisdom handed down the instructions. Crying isn't a decision you make. It's older than language itself. And it might be one of the strangest habits in the entire animal kingdom. Let's go back. Way back. Around 3,000 years ago, in ancient Rome and Greece, mourners did something you'd probably find bizarre today. When someone died, grieving family members cried into tiny glass bottles. Archaeologists call them lacrimatories, literally, tear catchers. These small vials, no bigger than a finger, were sealed and placed inside the tomb, alongside the body. The more tears a family collected, the more devotion they were believed to show the dead. Some tombs have been uncovered holding dozens of these bottles at once. Whether real tears ever filled them, or perfumed oil stood in for grief, historians still argue about today. But the message was never in doubt. Tears weren't just a feeling. They were evidence. Ancient Egypt pushed mourning even further. Wealthy families hired professional mourners, women trained specifically to wail, tear at their own clothing, and cry on command during funeral processions through the streets. The louder and more dramatic the tears, the more honor it was believed to bring the person who had died. Grief had become a performance, and tears had become its currency. For most of human history, nobody actually asked why we cry. Weeping was simply something that happened, at funerals, at births, in moments too large for words to hold. It wasn't until 1872 that anyone treated it as a real scientific question. That year, Charles Darwin published a book called The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. In it, he made a claim that stunned his readers. Humans, he argued, might be the only species on Earth that cries emotional tears. Not tears from pain. Not tears from smoke or dust. Tears from feeling itself. Darwin didn't have the tools to prove it. It would take another 100 years before science finally caught up to his question. In the early 1980s, an American biochemist named William Fry ran an experiment nobody had tried before. He asked volunteers to cry, some while watching sad films, others while chopping raw onions, and he collected every tear in small glass vials for analysis. What he found changed everything scientists thought they knew. Onion tears and emotional tears looked completely identical. But chemically, they weren't even close. Emotional tears carried significantly higher levels of stress hormones, including ACTH. They also carried leucine and kephalin, a natural painkiller the human body produces entirely on its own. Reflex tears from onions carried almost none of it. In other words, when you cry from sadness, your body isn't just leaking water. It may be quietly flushing stress chemicals out of your system, one tear at a time. Scientists now recognize 3 completely different kinds of tears. Basal tears exist constantly, quietly coating your eyes so they never dry out. Reflex tears appear instantly the moment your eyes are irritated by smoke, wind, or onions. And psychic tears, the emotional kind, are the only ones triggered by your brain's limbic system, the same region responsible for fear, memory, and attachment. That third kind is the one that makes humans strange. As far as researchers can tell, no other animal on Earth cries emotional tears the way humans do. Elephants make distress calls. Dogs whine. But actual tears, streaming down a face because of grief, joy, or love, that appears to be uniquely ours. So why would evolution build this in at all? The leading theory starts in infancy. A newborn can't speak, can't explain hunger, fear, or pain. Crying is the very first form of communication a human ever uses. It's loud, impossible to ignore, and it works. Caregivers respond almost instinctively to the sound of a crying infant. In evolutionary terms, crying kept babies alive. But adults keep crying too, long after language exists to explain exactly what's wrong. Researchers now believe that isn't a leftover glitch. It's a social signal. Tears are visible from a distance, unlike a flushed face or a lump in someone's throat. They're nearly impossible to fake convincingly. And that's exactly what makes them powerful. A crying person is signaling vulnerability in a way that's very hard to lie about, and other humans are wired to respond to that signal with comfort, protection, or closeness. Dutch psychologist Ad Vingerhoets has spent decades studying crying, and his research adds an interesting twist. People often report feeling better after a good cry, but only under specific conditions. Crying completely alone, in private, sometimes leaves people feeling worse afterward, not better. Crying in front of someone who responds with comfort tends to leave people feeling genuinely relieved. In other words, the chemistry of tears might matter less than the company you're in when you cry. Culture shapes this too. In some societies, public weeping is expected and even respected, at funerals, at weddings, during moments of collective joy. In others, children are taught from a young age to suppress tears almost entirely, especially boys, who are often raised to see crying as weakness rather than communication. Anthropologists have found this isn't universal biology. It's learned behavior, layered on top of a biological reflex every single human is born with. So is crying actually necessary? Biologically, humans don't need tears the way they need food or sleep to survive. But evolution rarely keeps something around for millions of years by pure accident. Tears cost energy to produce. They blur your vision at exactly the moment you might need to see most clearly. If crying served no purpose at all, natural selection likely would have quietly removed it long ago. Instead, it stayed. Through every culture, every era, every language humans have ever spoken, crying survived. So why do we cry? Because newborns needed a way to demand attention before they had any words at all. Because tears may carry chemical evidence of stress leaving the body behind. Because a crying face is nearly impossible to fake, which makes it one of the most honest signals humans have ever had. Because ancient Romans believed grief needed proof, and modern psychologists believe grief needs witnesses. And underneath all of that history, human biology was already wired to do this, long before anyone had a word for sadness. Crying was never really about weakness. And the next time your eyes well up without any warning at all, you'll finally know exactly why.